Part 8. Fringe Artists in the Entertainment Industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 71. Chapter 71. Double Artist, please read. Today's sunset is not very beautiful. The wind and sand in the evening are very strong, covering the sky with layers of gray veils. The coffee shop was very quiet, with only the speakers playing soothing piano music, which made people feel drowsy. Chen Lian rubbed his temples, feeling that this might be a promotional tool for the coffee shop. Sitting opposite Chen Lian, Ji Fa watched him turn over the contract in his hand several times and couldn't help but said, "If you can't understand, find a lawyer to help you." Chen Lian hummed, picked up a sugar cube and wanted to throw it into the coffee cup. The coffee here was too bitter. However, the sugar cube did not fall into the cup accurately. It fell on the table and jumped twice, and the fine sugar particles were scattered on the dark table. Ji Fa looked at Chen Lian and asked, "Do you have any doubts?" Chen Lian's fingers plucked the sugar cubes scattered on the dark table. The black and white seemed to match well, but they didn't blend together. The 55% in the contract is 55% after deducting all costs. In other words, the actual share I can get is less than 40% at most. Ji Fa nodded and said, "Yes, the cost of publicity and packaging must also be included. If it is an auction, the auction house will take a commission, and the rest is our share." After listening to Ji Fa's explanation, Chen Lian understood something, then pointed to the number of years on the contract and asked, "Isn't 5 years a bit long? Are you worried that you won't be able to increase the share in the future?" Ji Fa smiled, then flipped the contract to the end and said, "You can look at the additional terms at the end. The share ratio can be increased, so you don't have to worry. What you wrote is too complicated. I'd better ask a professional to take a look at it." Chen Lian pinched the sugar cube and crushed it with just a little force of his fingers. The tiny sugar granules instantly spread all over the table. The dark tabletop instantly seemed to be covered with stars, sparkling under the illumination of incandescent lamps. Chen Lian looked at the desktop that looked like the Milky Way in the universe and said, "Maybe I should study astronomy." Ji Fa was stunned for a moment, looked at the galaxy on the table and couldn't help but smile and said, "Art is as mysterious and beautiful as the universe. Do you always see many beautiful things in your field of vision? This is a necessary ability for every artist. Keen perception and unique perspective are the most important. It is difficult for a slow person to become an artist." Chen Lian lowered his eyes, moved the coffee cup slightly away, ran his fingertips across the table to twist the sugar granules, put it to his mouth and tasted it, and the bitterness in his mouth immediately dissipated a lot. "Did you also sign a contract with Bo Qing?" Chen Lian suddenly asked. Ji Fa nodded and said, "Yes, she is also a painter with great potential. Her paintings have strong emotional tension." After saying this, Ji Fa looked at Chen Lian's pretty face and couldn't help but said, "Actually, I have an idea. Maybe you and Bai Qing can work together and become inseparable artistic partners like Gilbert and George." This was an idea she had after meeting Gilbert and George today. The combination of Gilbert and George is very famous in the international art world. The two of them always have fantastic ideas and collide with many interesting things. Gilbert and George have won many awards together, held many art exhibitions, and are well known in the art world. It is always easier for duos in the art world to become famous than solo artists. Ji Fa looked at Chen Lian expectantly, hoping that he would agree to his proposal. Chen Lian glanced at Ji Fa and said, "I haven't signed the contract yet. Let's talk about this later. And shouldn't you ask Bo Qing first?" "I will. I think she will be very happy. When she looked at you at the film festival the day before yesterday, her eyes seemed to be shining," Ji Fa said with some envy, with a touch of sadness in his tone. Chen Lian was silent for a while. He hadn't seen Bai Qing for a long time. The last time Bai Qing moved, he didn't tell him his new address. "I'll take the contract away first, and I'll find someone to read it later before contacting you. Jifa nodded, then stopped Chen Lian, who was getting up to leave, and said, you should buy yourself a phone so that you can contact him more easily. Chen Lian pursed his lips and said, I have no money, artists are so poor. Jifa smiled carelessly. She had seen too many artists who were in poverty, and Chen Lian was already considered wealthy. Jifa opened his delicate little leather bag and took out a stack of pounds. He put it on the table and pushed it in front of Chen Lian and said, I'll lend these to you. I'll deduct them from your share after you sign the contract. Chen Lian looked at the red and green bank notes, and then glanced at Jifa, who had blonde hair, blue eyes, and a first-class appearance. He really wanted to sign the contract now. Not for anything else, just because she is so pretty and considerate. However, Chen Lian also knew that this was just Jifa's negotiation method, and it might be mixed with a trace of true feelings, but who knows. Looking at the banknotes on the table, Chen Lian didn't show any pretense. He put it directly into his pocket and said, if I don't sign the contract, I will pay you back. Jifa couldn't help laughing, blinked, and looked at Chen Lian and said, it's okay if you don't pay it back, I will deduct it from Bai Qing's share. Chen Lian, first it's money and then there's the emotional card, right? This Jifa is definitely a master, so maybe signing the contract isn't such a bad thing. After coming out of the cafe, the sky was already dark. Chen Lian glanced at the contract in his hand and took a taxi home instead of rushing to find a lawyer. There might be some blind little gangsters going to cause trouble in the compound tonight. He couldn't let Master stay at home alone to block them. After all, he was an old man of several decades. More than 10 minutes later, Chen Lian got off the car at the entrance of the alley. He immediately looked in the direction of the compound. The door was empty and no one was likely to make trouble. Chen Lian breathed a sigh of relief, guessing that it was Sanner who was exerting force behind his back. After returning to the compound, Chen Lian looked around but couldn't see the figure of his master. He didn't know where the old man was at this time. Just when Chen Lian was about to go find someone to ask, Lu Ming, his younger brother from the same hospital, ran over. Brotherin, Uncle Chi asked me to tell you that he went to that Sanner. After Lu Ming finished speaking, he asked curiously, Brotherin, who is that Sanner? He doesn't look like a good person. After Chen Lian knew where Uncle Chi had gone, he stopped worrying. Looking at the curious Lu Ming, he kicked him angrily and said, go home and do your homework. Why do you care so much? Lu Ming looked at the footprints on his new pants, pursed his lips and did not dare to resist. He ran home quickly and immediately wiped his pants with a wet towel when he got home. After bullying his little brother, Chen Lian was in a much better mood and went out to eat braised food while humming a tune he didn't understand. After returning to the yard, Chen Lian was not ready to wash up when Lu Ming's voice came from the yard again. Brotherin, I have your phone number. She is a sister with a nice voice. The sister with a nice voice? Chen Lian recalled that the girl he knew seemed to have a nice voice, but he didn't know who she was. Chen Lian threw the towel in his hand into the basin, put down his rolled up sleeves, opened the door curtain and went out to answer the phone. Hey, who's there? Are you Chen Lian? Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 72. Chapter 72-72. The art gathering place in Beijing, seeking for further reading. Hey, who's there? Are you Chen Lian? I am Chen Lian, who are you? In the phone booth at the entrance of the courtyard, Chen Lian was a little surprised who called him so late. You can't tell who it is by listening to the voice. It shouldn't be someone you know. After confirming Chen Lian's identity on the other end of the phone, he remained silent for some reason. It was just the sound of breathing coming from the receiver that told Chen Lian that the person on the other side was still there, so he didn't hang up the phone. In the quiet night, Chen Lian felt his hands and feet were a little cold, so he couldn't help but urge, "Who are you and why are you looking for me?" Chen Lian's urging had no effect, and there was deathly silence on the other end of the phone. If it weren't for the sound of breathing, Chen Lian would have suspected that someone was playing a prank. "Who are you? If you don't speak, I will die." Chen Lian's response was still a long silence. He raised his head and looked at the slowly falling snowflakes in the sky, and hung up without waiting for a reply. Nervous, "You didn't say anything even when you called me." Chen Lian rubbed his hands and hurried home before the snow fell. In another phone booth in the capital, a graceful woman smiled softly and slowly hung up the phone, preparing to make another call tomorrow night. "I'm still a little anxious tonight. I'll think of my words tomorrow and then type one up." Beings like artists can't be simple and direct. Only the mysterious ones will make him remember. Under the soft light of the street lamp, a pair of slender straight legs jumped briskly, leaving a faint footprint on the road that had just been covered with a layer of snowflakes. In the bright room, Chen Lian took off the hot towel on his face and stretched out comfortably. Feel good. The phone call just now did not arouse any curiosity in him. He has become more insane these days. Since he took the initiative to call, there will definitely be another call. After washing up, Chen Lian got into bed comfortably with a hint of tiredness and fell into a deep sleep. Chen Lian got up early the next morning and ran to make a call to Gong Li, asking her to have dinner with her at noon and asking her connections in Europe to investigate Jifa. "This girl looks good, maybe there is some weird person behind her, otherwise why would Gilbert and George look at her with such complicated eyes?" The film festival in the morning went on normally. After Chen Lian finished his work, he ran away without noticing that there was a girl behind him calling his name. Su Jinglei looked at Chen Lian's leaving figure and sighed helplessly. She felt that her visit today was in vain and she wasted a few dollars on tickets. On the busy Wangfujing Street, Chen Lian glanced at the time on the clock tower. It was still early before the time he and Gong Li agreed on, so he went to buy a phone first. However, Chen Lian only had more than 4,000 yuan. After buying a phone and applying for a phone card, he had more than 400 yuan left, which was enough to treat Gong Li to a meal. "It's really not enough, and I still have more than £1,000 that I borrowed from Jifa yesterday." Chen Lian fiddled with the new phone in his hand and saved all the numbers he remembered. However, it was troublesome not to be able to input in Chinese, so he had to use English instead. After saving several numbers, Chen Lian dialed Gong Li. "Hello? Who's there?" Gong Li's voice sounded lazy, as if she had just woken up. Chen Lian glanced at the time on the clock tower. It was already 11 o'clock. "Did you just get up? Female celebrities without work are so lazy." "It's me, Chen Lian, have you just gotten up now?" Gong Li, who had just gotten up at home, was a little surprised that it was Chen Lian's call and asked curiously, "Did you buy a new phone?" "I just got up." "Well, this is my number. Remember it and pack up quickly." "I'll wait for you at Maxim," Chen Lian said helplessly. Gong Li hummed, and then said quickly, "I'll be there in half an hour. You go and wait for me first." After hanging up the phone, Chen Lian stopped a car and headed to Maxim. The decoration of Maxim's is very good, and the artistic atmosphere is still very strong. Many artists and a group of rock players often gather here. It is considered a favorite place for domestic artists. Even though it is daytime and is not a time for most artists to hang out, there are still many foreign artists gathering together in the restaurant to discuss art. Chen Lian heard his name from them several times, but he did not join that group of people. Instead, he asked the waiter to choose a quiet booth for him. The red leather seats in the booth were pretty good. Chen Lian nestled comfortably on the sofa, casually placing the magazine he just picked up. "Are you Chen Lian?" A gentle voice suddenly appeared next to Chen Lian's booth. Chen Lian put down the magazine in his hand, looked at the middle-aged woman in front of him who was stylishly dressed and had braids, nodded and asked, Do you know me? Yes. Song Huigui looked at Chen Lian and asked with a smile, can I sit down? Chen Lian nodded and said, of course, but I've invited friends over for dinner, maybe later. I know, you invited Gong Li. Song Huigui smiled lightly and then explained, I am Song Huigui, Maxim's manager, and I am a good friend with Gong Li. Chen Lian suddenly realized, nodded, and looked at the woman in front of him, wondering why she came here. Song Huigui looked at Chen Lian for a few times with admiration in his eyes. She thought he had a great figure and was very handsome. Facing Song Huigui's gaze, Chen Lian was a little puzzled as to why his eyes looked a bit like X-rays. Seemingly sensing Chen Lian's confusion, Song Huigui said with a smile, I went to see your film exhibition. It's a very good work. It's rare to see such works in Europe, so I came to get to know you. I'm also a painter. Chen Lian knew that Song Huigui was well known in the domestic art circle and had established the country's first model team. Moreover, she and her husband were the first foreign-related marriage in the country. Song Huigui was very talkative and continued without waiting for Chen Lian's reply, Gong Li told me about you, but I never thought she would break up with Zhang Yumu for you. After saying this, Chen Lian immediately sat up straight and explained seriously, her breakup with Zhang Yumu has nothing to do with me. She and I are just friends. Haha, that's what they say now. Song Huigui laughed and said, that's what Zhang Wen said last time he came here. Chen Lian, Zhang Wen is such a gossip. Seeing Chen Lian speechless, Song Huigui stopped teasing after laughing enough. He glanced at his watch and said, Gong Li should be here soon. Are you asking her about the art manager? Chen Lian was really speechless. Why did Gong Li say so much? But thinking that Song Huigui was doing well in the foreign art world, he nodded and said, yes, do you know about this? I understand quite well. Song Huigui nodded, and her black braids swayed. The woman in her 50s looked quite young. Who is your art manager? Maybe I know him. Chen Lian, Jiffakari is a Frenchman. Do you know him? After hearing what Chen Lian said, Song Huigui was stunned for a moment, then looked at Chen Lian with a playful expression and coughed lightly and said, I know, but I don't recommend you choose her. Not recommended? Is there really something wrong with this girl Jifa? Chen Lian felt that Jifa was quite normal. Seeing Chen Lian's doubts, Song Huigui explained, actually, she is a very good manager, but the management of the gallery has not been very good in the past few years since she inherited it. Isn't this the real reason? Chen Lian was very puzzled after hearing Song Huigui's explanation, feeling that there was something else behind it. Song Huigui hesitated and said, her reputation is not very good and she has fallen in love with many artists. Is Jifa still a big player? And a super player? Chen Lian instantly felt that he was in danger. Could this girl be planning on him? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 73. Chapter 73-73. Gong Li's little temper, please follow up. The music in Maxim's restaurant is very nice. The pianist's fingertips dance on the black and white piano keys, and the melodious music spreads from the piano throughout the restaurant. Chen Lian's slender fingers were also tapping on the table, but his attention was not on the beautiful piano music, but on whether to sign a contract with Jifa. Whether Jifa is a big player or not is not very important to Chen Lian. Why is he not a big player? Who is afraid of whom? It's just that it's better to keep things simple between artists and managers. Since Jifa has such a risk, Chen Lian will hesitate. Just when Chen Lian was worried, Gong Li walked into the restaurant with great aura, wearing a black fur coat. Song Huigui saw Gong Li at a glance, stood up and said to Chen Lian, you should think about it carefully, but the contract she gave is very good. Chen Lian looked up at Song Huigui, nodded and said, "Thank you, I'm sorry to trouble you today." Song Huigui nodded and turned around and walked towards Gong Li. When she met Gong Li, she hugged her gently. "You have good taste." Chen Lian is much more handsome than Zhang Yumu, and he is also young and talented, Song Huigui whispered in Gong Li's ear. Gong Li let go of Song Huigui and said angrily, "Don't make fun of me. Chen Lian and I are friends." "Haha, that's what he said too." Song Huigui smiled and then joked, "But you are not a simple friend, I can see that." After hearing what Song Huigui said, a trace of inexplicable displeasure flashed in Gong Li's eyes. She didn't know whether it was a tease to Song Huigui or Chen Lian's rhetoric. Or maybe it's because of the gossip I heard yesterday that Mei Cheng appeared with her boyfriend at Nortel. Song Huigui patted Gong Li's arm and said, "I won't disturb you anymore. Call me if you need anything." "Okay, go ahead and do your work." "Thank you for your help today." Gong Li put away her emotions and said with a smile. After Song Huigui left, Gong Li looked at Chen Lian, who was meditating not far away, and walked over with a straight face. "Friend, can I sit here?" Gong Li emphasized the word friend with a somewhat unhappy tone. Chen Lian raised his head and looked at Gong Li, paused for a moment while tapping his fingers on the table, and said confused, "Sit down, what nonsense are you talking about?" Gong Li rolled her eyes at Chen Lian. After sitting down, she kicked Chen Lian under the table and then said, "Have you asked me about your matter?" "Well, thank you for your friend." Chen Lian rubbed his calf, wondering why Gong Li was so angry. Gong Li looked at Chen Lian and suddenly said, "Call me sister." "Chen Lian, auntie is here?" "Still taking gunpowder?" The softness of the piano music could not make Gong Li feel better. When she thought of how much she had helped Chen Lian, this guy didn't know how to thank her, and even showed off his presence with Chen Myron. Even if she is Mr. Zhou, she will not be so angry. This is obviously Chen Myron's little trick. This is learning how to spread scandals yourself. Gong Li didn't believe that someone as smart as Chen Lian couldn't understand, which meant that Chen Lian agreed. Originally, Gong Li didn't care about Chen Myron's childish provocation in Suzhou, but with the success of Chen Lian's film festival, Gong Li re-examined her feelings for Chen Lian and felt that she seemed to be a little attracted to him. Just like what Song Huigui said just now, Chen Lian is young, handsome, and very talented. Why would he want to just play around? It's a bit unwilling not to fight for such a high-quality man. Besides, Chen Myron has declared war on herself. My uncle can't bear it, but my sister can't bear it. Otherwise, others will definitely say that they were defeated by Chen Myron in the future. Gong Li's thoughts were racing in her mind. Seeing Chen Lian's confused look, she asked with a straight face, "Why are you and Chen Myron going to Nortel?" Hearing Gong Li's question, Chen Lian finally understood why she was having trouble, and said somewhat speechlessly, "I'm going to ask for leave, and she happened to be going to the film festival that day, so we went together." After listening to Chen Lian's explanation, Gong Li's expression softened a little, then she leaned forward and looked into his eyes and said, "You should have less contact with her in the future. She is not as simple as you think." Chen Lian glanced at the black fur that was slightly open on Gong Li's chest, and then said calmly, "I know that there are a few simple women in the entertainment industry." Gong Li felt that Chen Lian had included herself in these words, so she couldn't help but raise her foot and step on Chen Lian under the table and said, "At least I haven't used any tricks with you. Sister, just tell me, can you move your feet?" Chen Lian couldn't help complaining, "It hurts to step on someone with high heels." Gong Li rolled her eyes and felt a little hot, so she took off her fur coat. The white turtleneck wool sweater showed off Gong Li's beautiful figure. Chen Lian glanced across Gong Li's body, and then asked, "What would you like to eat?" "I haven't ordered yet." Gong Li called the waiter over, took the menu, glanced at it briefly, and ordered several dishes without giving Chen Lian a chance to choose. After ordering, Gong Li held her chin and said, I used to come here often, and he also likes to come here. What he should be talking about here is Jang Yumu. Chen Lian did not make any comments. This kind of topic is obviously not suitable for him to discuss together. Gong Li didn't seem to want to say much. She simply said something and didn't mention it again. She seemed to have really forgotten about that person. The two of them had a long meal, mainly because Gong Li insisted on drinking, and the two of them finished the bottle of red wine. After eating, Chen Lian paid with the pound he borrowed yesterday and helped Gong Li out. Both of them were a little tipsy and they definitely couldn't drive, so they had to take a taxi. After Chen Lian helped Gong Li into the car, he asked Gong Li's home address and asked the master to drive. In the warm back seat, Gong Li blushed and leaned on Chen Lian's shoulder. She held Chen Lian's fingers with her white and tender hands, pinching every knuckle as if she were playing with a toy. The driver looked through the rearview mirror and seemed to recognize the person behind him as Gong Li. Although it was not the first time he saw a celebrity at Maxim's door, he was still a little surprised. Didn't Gong Li fall in love with Jang Yumo? Who is this man now? He couldn't be a pretty boy. I felt like I had discovered a gossipy driver. I stepped on the accelerator a little harder in excitement, shortening the original 10-minute drive to 10 minutes. Chen Lian took out a 100 note from his pocket and handed it to the driver's hand, and then said seriously, "Master, you drive well. I remember your license plate number. I will write you a letter of praise later. This money, keep the change, please." The driver's mouth twitched as he looked at the money in his hand, wondering what kind of letter of praise he was writing. Isn't it just a warning to myself not to talk nonsense? After Chen Lian confirmed that the driver was impressed, he helped Gong Li get out of the car. Gong Li's home is not a courtyard house, but a very high-end community. The decoration in the house is very new, and there are no signs of use on the furniture inside. It looks like they just moved here not long ago. After Chen Lian helped Gong Li sit on the sofa, she pulled him to the sofa before he could take a closer look. Looking at Gong Li on top of him, Chen Lian carefully held her waist, fearing that she would fall. Gong Li opened her red lips slightly, and her breath smelled slightly intoxicating with the smell of red wine. Just when Chen Lian was about to speak, she raised her finger and pressed it on Chen Lian's lips and said, "Don't talk." "Chen Lian, don't you want to hear my scumbag quotes?" After seeing Chen Lian shut up, Gong Li gently stroked his face with her palm and said softly, "I still like the Zonkai who calls me sister and loves me. You are too bad now." Chen Lian opened his mouth slightly and bit Gong Li's finger. He couldn't speak and could only express it through actions. Gong Li felt slightly pained. Seeing the smile on Chen Lian's lips, she couldn't help but want to retaliate, so she lowered her head and opened her small mouth slightly to bite Chen Lian's mouth. As if no one knows how to bite? Gong Li glanced at Chen Lian with provocative eyes, her teeth tightened slightly and then relaxed slightly. Chen Lian couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. The good sister really knows how to bite. It's better to provoke him less often in the future. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 74. Chapter 74. Signing a contract, seeking further reading. In the dim room, the flame of the scented candle was the only source of light in the room. The delicately decorated room was filled with the faint fragrance of roses. Chen Lian hugged Gong Li and leaned on the bed. The silky white duvet covered their bodies, revealing only a trace of spring light. "Do you want to sign the manager's contract?" Gong Li asked, leaning on Chen Lian's shoulder. Chen Lian turned to look at Gong Li and said, "Sign." Song Huigui said she is very professional, and the contract is also very good. The reason why he decided to sign the contract is actually very simple. Chen Lian also wanted to realize his talent through Jifa. Artists also have to eat. Without professional help, it would be difficult for an artist to get ahead, especially if it is almost impossible to become a well-known artist internationally. There are tens of thousands of painters and only a few capable art managers, and only Jifa is willing to sign a contract with Chen Lian. Gong Li did not interfere with Chen Lian's decision. After hearing that he was willing to sign the contract, she hesitated and said, "Will you still have a painting exhibition in the future? That painting you painted for me. That's for you. I won't bring it back to exhibit." Chen Lian interrupted Gong Li and patted her slender waist. Gong Li nodded when he heard this, and then said with a smile, "If you become famous in the future, will this painting be valuable?" "Then I have to wait until I die," Chen Lian said speechlessly. Gong Li rolled her eyes, hit Chen Lian and said, "What are you talking about? In modern society, if a painting wants to become valuable, it must be hyped. Even if Chen Lian becomes a well-known painter, not every painting will be valuable. If Gong Li collects the painting in his hand, he really has to make it valuable. It will only be possible after Chen Lian dies. Dead artists are valuable artists." Chen Lian smelled the faint fragrance of roses and felt a little sleepy. He hugged Gong Li and said softly, "It's late, let's rest." Yes. Gong Li changed into a comfortable position, lay on Chen Lian's chest and slowly closed her eyes. The room suddenly fell into silence, but the quiet time was a bit short, and the two people in the room who couldn't sit still began to sing again. The lyrics are also weird, about black stockings and scented candles that are so hot. Early the next morning, the weather was still a little gloomy, with only a ray of sunshine breaking through the dark clouds, just like the big, round, and white moon last night. It looked like it was going to snow. Chen Lian wrapped his scarf tightly and left Gong Li's house to go to the National Art Museum of China to continue his film exhibition. Today is the fourth day of the film festival. There are not that many people coming to see the exhibition, but Chen Lian and the group of old people still complete this performance art seriously. There were not many people in the exhibition hall. When Su Jinglei walked into the exhibition hall, Chen Lian saw it at a glance. Su Jinglei has been coming to see the exhibition for 3 consecutive days. Chen Lian was curious whether this girl was too busy. Film festivals and performance art will be shocking the first time you see them, you will have a lot of thoughts the second time, and you will feel nothing at all the third time. It stands to reason that few people will visit the exhibition for 3 consecutive days, unless they highly admire the works here. But according to Chen Lian's observation, Su Jinglei didn't pay much attention to her works, but she often observed herself. In the quiet exhibition hall, Su Jinglei stood looking at Chen Lian from a distance, thinking that when Chen Lian's performance was over, he must hurry up and don't miss it like yesterday. Su Jinglei felt a little frustrated when she thought that she couldn't get through the phone call last night. Who would have thought that Chen Lian was not at home? Originally, I wanted to play a mystery on the phone and then meet in reality. Now it seems that it is better to play straight. Maybe Chen Lian likes something more direct. With this thought, Su Jinglei didn't want to continue to play the art game. She wanted to get to know him first and then think of other ways. As time went by, the morning performance quickly ended. Chen Lian walked out of the glass cabinet in the middle of the venue, looked at the several audience members who had gathered around, smiled and chatted for a few words before preparing to leave. He was still anxious to find Jifa, and the contract signing had to be finalized as soon as possible. Su Jinglei took the opportunity to stop Chen Lian, but Chen Lian, who had noticed her for a long time, silently turned around, changed direction and left quickly. Chen Lian has no idea of having a close friendship with this famous talented woman in the entertainment industry, even though the 21-year-old Su Jinglei is very good looking. Su Jinglei stood on tiptoe and found that Chen Lian's figure disappeared into the crowd again. She stamped her foot angrily. Why did he run away again? After leaving the art museum, Chen Lian didn't know the purpose of Su Jinglei approaching him, but he was not curious. If Zhang Qingqing approached him like this, he would definitely not run away. People are like this sometimes. Those who don't have a good rapport just don't want to say a word. Su Jinglei is the one who doesn't have a good rapport with Chen Lian. Also at Maxim, Chen Lian and Ji Fa met again, but this time Bo Qing was also there. Seeing Bai Qing and Ji Fa sitting together, talking and laughing, Chen Lian immediately became wary, suspecting that Bai Qing might not know that Ji Fa was a player. Chen Lian calmly sat next to them and said hello to them. Bo Qing turned to look at Chen Lian and leaned over, sniffing Chen Lian as usual. But this time, Bai Qing heard some strange questions, and his expression became colder before leaning towards Ji Fa again. Chen Lian lowered his head and smelled it. There was a faint scent of roses on his coat. After spending a whole night in a scented room, it was inevitable that his clothes would be stained with some smell. Ji Fa looked at Bai Qing and Chen Lian with a smile, and then took the initiative and said, "Have you decided to sign a contract?" After glancing at Bai Qing, who didn't want to talk to him, Chen Lian turned to Ji Fa and said, "Well, I've thought about it. We can sign the contract today. Then do you want to become a partner with Bo Qing? Be a double artist?" Ji Fa asked again. Chen Lian glanced at Bo Qing, worried that the girl would be attacked by Ji Fa, and said, "Of course, but I don't know what Bo Qing is thinking." Bai Qing turned to look at Chen Lian, the coldness in his eyes disappeared, and he said calmly, "Of course, otherwise I wouldn't come today." Ji Fa obviously knew about Bo Qing's choice. He took out a new contract from his bag and handed it to Chen Lian and said, "Then let's sign the contract now." Chen Lian took the new contract and read it carefully. He didn't find any changes from the previous one, so he signed his name. After signing the contract, Ji Fa said excitedly, "To celebrate your signing, let me treat you today. How about a drink?" "No problem." After the three of them finished ordering, they waited for the red wine to arrive and clinked their glasses. At this moment, the iron triangle in the future art world was officially established. After finishing the wine in the cup, Ji Fa got down to business and looked at Chen Lian and said, "You two will participate in the Venice Biennale next June as your first shot in the international art world, but before that you have to only if there are new works." Chen Lian nodded, looked at Bo Qing and asked, "Have you created anything recently? Do you have any new inspiration?" "I have inspiration, but I haven't started yet." After Bai Qing finished speaking, he paused, looked at Chen Lian and asked, "But it conflicts with the artistic concept shown in your film festival." Chen Lian shook his head and said, "I haven't formed my own theory yet, and I'm still exploring. But I do have some new ideas recently. I'll chat with you after dinner." Ji Fa asked curiously, "Tell me what you think." Bo Qing is also curious. She has no doubts about Chen Lian's talent and wants to know what different perspectives he has. Chen Lian put down the cup in his hand, looked at them and said, "I want to combine photography and oil painting to create a set of Chinese-style installation art." Ji Fa frowned slightly and asked, "Painting photography?" "No, I said it is installation art. The key point is to combine painting and painting without imitating it. It is essentially different from pictorialism." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 75. Chapter 75. The perseverant Su Jinglei, please follow up. Amidst the melodious piano music, the three people in the red booth were silent and thinking about their own problems. Ji Fa thought Chen Lian's so-called installation art was very thoughtful, but it was different from what she had in mind. Installation art is a complete space and whole. This kind of art cannot be sold. It can only be made into an exhibition hall or public space to make money through tickets and other means. This is a very difficult art form to make a profit. Just like performance art, you can often only make a small amount of money by recording it through photography. What Ji Fa wanted was for Chen Lian and Bai Qing to create oil paintings for each other, so that it would be easier for him as an art manager to operate. Looking at the troubled Ji Fa, Chen Lian did not explain his ideas to her in detail. Of course, he considered the issue of profitability and would not turn his works into a public space that could not be moved or collected. Bai Qing was very interested in Chen Lian's ideas and followed Chen Lian's ideas in thinking about how to combine oil painting and photography. What do you mean by Chinese style? Do you have a theme in mind? Bai Qing took the initiative to sit next to Chen Lian and asked. Chen Lian nodded slightly and talked about the Jiangnan style he saw in Suzhou. I want to show the beauty of Eastern classical artistic conception through the form of photography and oil painting, combining the old and new, the East and the West, to show the beauty of Jiangnan's artistic conception. Bai Qing is a northerner and does not have much experience with the gentleness and sentimentality of Jiangnan. She prefers direct and strong visual impact and emotional expression. This is different from what I thought, Bai Qing said with a slight frown. Chen Lian cut the steak and said, in my eyes, Jiangnan is not gentle and sentimental, and its inner strength and softness are not distant and sad, but a kind of suppressed emotion that cannot be relaxed. It was the first time that Bai Qing heard someone use the word depressive to describe the charm of Jiangnan, and he was curious about what Jiangnan looked like in Chen Lian's eyes. Ji Fa sat next to her with her chin propped up and had no idea what the two people who were communicating in Chinese were saying. She fiddled with the steak on the plate helplessly and said, Chen, you can make a work for me to see, I don't quite understand what you mean. Of course. After the film festival is over, I will try to make a work for you to see. After Chen Lian finished speaking, he turned to Bai Qing and asked, are you free in the next few days? Yes, I will go find you after your film festival is over. Chen Lian's thoughts are actually related to the movie Huayu. Through the depressing house in Tongli Water Village, Chen Lian saw that there are too many human struggles and depressions buried under the picturesque scenery of Jiangnan. It's just that the camera can't express the strong color impact, so Chen Lian thought of using the freer and more brilliant colors of oil painting to make up for the shortcomings of photography. Using ultra-large photos as a canvas, he creates strong emotional colors on the gentle and sentimental Jiangnan scenery. It's just that Chen Lian hasn't figured out the specific creative ideas yet. He just has a general idea and will discuss it with Bai Qing after the film festival. After leaving Maxim, Chen Lian walked on the street with nothing to do, so he returned to the National Art Museum of China. As soon as Chen Lian arrived at the art museum, he was surrounded by several college students who came to visit. They looked at Chen Lian with admiration and asked questions. Most of these students came from the Central Academy of Fine Arts. They are very receptive to new things and have a strong desire for new art forms. They asked Chen Lian to ask a lot about his creative ideas. Chen Lian looked at these people of his own age and was very happy to communicate with them. Everyone only talked about art and it was pure, unlike Su Jinglei who wanted to get close to him in the morning for other purposes. 7 or 8 people chatted for a while, answered their questions and then dispersed. Chen Lian, now at leisure again, was going to go out and smoke a cigarette. Chen Lian. Just when Chen Lian walked to the door, he suddenly heard someone calling him, and the voice sounded familiar. The voice of the silent person on the phone the day before yesterday was very similar, and Su Jinglei could indeed get her contact information from the school. Chen Lian suspected that Su Jinglei was the one who called him that day. Su Jinglei, who was behind the crowd, trotted over and stood opposite Chen Lian. The bangs on her forehead were slightly messy, but she looked very youthful and energetic, and her smile was sweet and friendly. 21-year-old women seem to be born with this kind of youthful vitality, regardless of their appearance, just because of their youthful vitality. Chen Lian glanced at her and admired the girl's perseverance, so he stopped and looked at her, wondering what she was going to do. Chen Lian looked at Su Jinglei and asked, "Hello, what's the matter?" "Hello, I am Su Jinglei, a sophomore student from Nortel." Su Jinglei smiled and stretched out her hand, as if it was the first time she met Chen Lian. Su Jinglei's slender fingers were very beautiful. Chen Lian shook his hand lightly and then retracted his hand and said, "Chen Lian, also from Nortel, freshman." I know, your name is famous in school. Su Jing pulled back her short hair, looked at Chen Lian and asked, can you waste a little time? I have many ideas about your works and want to talk to you. Looking at Su Jinglei, who behaved naturally and generously, Chen Lian said slightly, okay, but you have to wait for a while. After Chen Lian finished speaking, he took out a cigarette and lit it. Then he realized what he was doing and looked at Su Jinglei and asked, do you want one? Thank you, I don't. Su Jinglei looked at the cigarette held between Chen Lian's fingers and suddenly felt that there was no need to hide anything. Okay, give me one. Chen Lian took out a cigarette from the cigarette case and handed it to Su Jinglei, then took out a lighter and lit it for her. Su Jinglei held a cigarette and smoked it skillfully. Her smoking movements were very beautiful. Women who smoke often have an unspeakable charm. Even girls in their early 20s will add a touch of mature charm. Su Jinglei was still very beautiful when she was young. With short hair and a youthful face, she really looked like a talented woman. Are you going to be busy later? Su Jinglei took a puff of cigarette and asked Chen Lian. Not busy. Before Chen Lian finished speaking, the phone in his pocket rang. Chen Lian took it out and took a look at it, then said sorry to Su Jinglei and went to answer the phone. A few minutes later, Chen Lian came back and looked at Su Jinglei and said, sorry, I may not be able to talk to you today. Su Jinglei, who was opposite Chen Lian, felt a flash of disappointment in her heart after being rejected, but she didn't show it on the surface. She still said calmly and generously, since it's inconvenient for you, forget it. I'll ask you for advice next time. Well, sorry. After Chen Lian finished speaking, he wanted to leave, but was suddenly stopped by Su Jinglei. Hey, can you leave me your contact information? I'll ask you next time. Contact information? Chen Lian was a little surprised. Could it be that the person calling was not Su Jinglei, but the voice sounded very similar? Chen Lian turned his head and looked at Su Jinglei, hesitated and gave her his phone number. Su Jinglei took the notebook she had prepared and jotted it down. She was a little surprised why Chen Lian still left the number of the public phone booth on the school's contact list when he had a phone number. However, Su Jinglei did not express these doubts. After quickly writing down the number, she raised her head and called it again to confirm with Chen Lian. That's right, next time we call, I have to leave beforehand. Goodbye. Chen Lian waved to Su Jinglei and left quickly. Su Jinglei looked at Chen Lian's back and suddenly shouted, is it okay tomorrow? I will come tomorrow. Chen Lian stopped and looked back at Su Jinglei and said, no problem, see you tomorrow. Everyone must catch up on reading it. I want to rush to Sanjiang. Dear gentlemen, you must catch up on reading it tomorrow. Please. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 76. Chapter 76. Four beauties, please read, today is very important. At the entrance of the National Art Museum of China, Chen Miren stood next to her car and waved to Chen Lian. Chen Lian walked over immediately, and before he could say anything, Chen Miren rushed over to her and blocked her mouth for a kiss. Nowadays, the four beauties are really bold. They are becoming more and more direct. They don't care whether they are in public or not, or maybe this is her purpose. After lingering for a while, Chen Mei let go of Chen Lian, put her arms around Chen Lian's neck and said, who was talking to you at the entrance of the exhibition hall just now? Chen Lian didn't expect that Miren Chen would see it, so he said, Su Jinglei, a senior from Nortel came to the film festival. Su Jinglei, Chen Miren thought for a moment, as if she had heard of this person before, then looked at Chen Lian and asked, isn't he here for you? Just to see the exhibition? Chen Lian smiled and said, You check the post. Just tell me, isn't it? Chen Myron said coquettishly. That should be the case. I think she is much more interested in me than watching the exhibition, Chen Lian explained. Chen Myron turned her head and looked inside the art gallery with a hint of vigilance in her eyes. She had already gone to Nortel to show off her presence, so why were there still people approaching? It was so shameless. Shuang Biaohong cursed in his heart, then took Chen Lian's hand and said coquettishly, "Don't hook up with others anymore. My competition pressure is already great enough." The reason why Chen Myron wanted to show off her presence in Nortel with Chen Lian was to create scandals to gain an advantage for herself, and to reduce competitors. She knew Chen Lian too well and was not a peaceful person. Now that he is entangled with Gong Li and Mr. Zhou, if there are others in the future, when can he really catch Chen Lian? Chen Myron has been in the entertainment industry for many years, and she knows how difficult women in this industry are, and they will never give up if they have their sights set on the target. As long as there are men with some talent and background in the circle, there are countless women who are interested in them, and there are countless people who have succeeded in becoming mistresses. These women are all powerful. Chen Myron feels that it is necessary to strengthen the defense line again to prevent another woman from appearing around Chen Lian. Chen Lian could also guess a little bit about Chen Myron's little thoughts, but he didn't dislike her. Chen Myron was a woman who was hard to tell whether she was good or bad. You could say she was dishonest. After getting married in the original time and space, she became a good wife and mother. You can say that she is a good woman, and she stepped in to get the upper hand. Therefore, Chen Lian has always had complicated feelings about Chen Myron, and he can't explain what is behind her. Maybe he simply wants to be Lu Bu. How can a man live in a state of depression for a long time? Putting aside his strange thoughts, Chen Lian took Chen Myron's hand and asked, "Why are you here today?" "I'm here to care about you. I'm afraid you'll be too busy and don't have time to eat, so I'll take you to eat delicious food," Chen Myron said with a smile. Chen Lian rubbed Chen Myron's head and asked, "What do you want to bring me to eat?" "Western food." Chen Myron hugged Chen Lian's arm and said, "How about Maxim? Their Western food is the most authentic." Chen Lian twitched his lips. "Why are you eating Western food every day these days? It's all Maxim. You don't want to go?" "Don't like Western food?" Chen Myron asked, looking at Chen Lian's strange expression. Chen Lian hummed and said, "I don't want to eat Western food today, let's go eat hot pot mutton." "Good." After making up their minds, the two got in the car to go to Dongleshan to eat hot pot mutton. As the car was leaving, Su Jinglei happened to come out of the art gallery and saw Chen Lian and Chen Myron sitting in the car. Su Jinglei's eyes stayed on Chen Myron's beautiful face for a while, and she had a clear understanding of Chen Lian's aesthetics. Chen Myron glanced through the car window at Su Jinglei, who was also sizing her up, and couldn't help but curl her lips. "She looks just average." Chen Lian said a little speechlessly, "You have too high a vision. Haven't there been only 4 beauties in thousands of years?" Chen Myron chuckled and raised her head arrogantly and said, "Now that you know I'm good looking, don't worry if you don't look as good as me in the future." Chen Lian was silent for a moment and suddenly thought of another one of the 4 beauties, 11 Zi. Isn't Zhang Qingqing the beauty of 11 Zi? Well. And the most beautiful Yang Gaifei Zhouji that we will see on the Huaya crew next year. There is also Wang Zhejian among the 4 beauties. Chen Lian rubbed his chin and recalled who had played Wang Zhejian, and who is still Yang Mi in the little girl movie. It seems that Wen Hong also played Wang Zhejian. Among the actors who have played the 4 beauties in the entertainment industry, there are probably 3 who really deserve the name. Chen Myron's Diao Chan, Zhouji's Yang Gaifei, Zhang Qingqing's 11 She should be added to Yaya's version, and Wang Zhejian's several actors. None of them seem to have received high ratings. Chen Myron noticed that Chen Lian had not spoken and asked aloud, "What are you thinking about?" "It's nothing." Chen Lian didn't say that he was thinking about all the 4 beauties. It was really disrespectful to Chen Myren. Chen Myren turned to look at Chen Lian suspiciously, and then said, "Aren't you thinking about the four beauties? Is Chen Myren so smart?" Chen Lian was a little surprised at Chen Myren's sensitivity in such matters. Chen Myren really understands men. If you think about what she just said, you can guess what Chen Lian is thinking. Thinking of the four beauties, Chen Myren suddenly remembered that director Yang Ji was preparing to film 11 Za, so she asked, "What do you think of me playing 11 Za?" 11 Shi? Has anyone approached you to act? Chen Lian asked curiously. Chen Myren said while driving, "I heard that director Yang Ji is planning to film 11 Za. I will give it a try later." This is to compete with Zhang Qingqing for the role, but the beauty Chen may not be able to get it. Yang Ji is not an ordinary director and has his own requirements for actors. Have you ever thought about filming a TV series? Chen Myren feels that she mainly works in TV series. If she wants to act with Chen Lian, she can only find a way to cooperate in TV series. Chen Lian shook his head and said, "I never thought about it. I like movies more." "Well, now that you are filming director Cheng's movies, I guess you don't like TV series either," Chen Myren said helplessly. These days, TV drama actors are still a little inferior to movie actors, and there are also high and low levels of art. The car was quiet for a while, and Chen Myren suddenly asked, "You have become an artist now, will you still be able to make movies in the future?" In Chen Myren's opinion, artists are much more powerful than actors. Being an actor is not as good as being an artist. I like acting. It has nothing to do with my identity. If there is a good drama, I will definitely act in it, Chen Lian said seriously. In fact, he himself is a little uncomfortable with his current development. Originally he just wanted to cultivate his hobbies, but he didn't expect that his talent was a bit off the charts, and his artistic achievements were already much higher than those of actors. In the future, I may really focus on art, and acting will depend on whether I like the script. Chen Lian looked at his hand and seemed to see a golden finger with the word God written on it. Bah! It's 3 words, artist. God cannot take it, so you must suffer the consequences. Then let's gallop on the road of being an artist. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 77. Chapter 77. The first small amount of money, please read, today is very important. It's snowing again in the capital. The last snow has just melted, and the earth has been covered with a layer of white silver. Chen Lian was sweeping the snow in Chen Myren's small yard with a broom. Chen Myren, wrapped in a down jacket, leaned sleepily against the door and looked at him and asked, "Are you going to the film festival?" Chen Lian nodded and asked, "Have you not been working recently?" "Yes, I'm going to have a commercial performance in the next few days." "There are the most commercial performances before New Year's Day," Chen Myren yawned, and then said with a smile, "I want to make more money, and I will support you one day." Chen Lian turned to look at Chen Myren and said angrily, "If I want to make money, I can't make as much as I can if you take on 8 commercial performances a day. Just brag, do you know how much a business performance costs for me?" Chen Myren looked at Chen Lian unconvinced. Chen Lian paused, leaning on the broom, looking at Chen Myren and said, "Then let's make a bet, who will make more money before New Year's Day? If I make more than you will listen to me in everything from now on." Chen Myren immediately became interested and ran to Chen Lian and said, "Then if I win, you are not allowed to find other women, and will you marry me immediately?" Chen Lian looked at the excited Chen Myren, smiled and agreed, "Okay, it's a deal." Look. Look. Chen Lian and Chen Myren clicked their little thumbs to complete the betting ceremony. The bet with Chen Myren was not a whim of the ceremony, but Chen Lian really felt that he was too poor now. He had no savings and still owed Jifa more than 1,000 foreign exchange. Another reason is that Chen Myren has too many little thoughts now, and she has to find a way to restrain them, even if she can only control them for a while. After Chen Lian swept out Cheng Miren's yard, he went out to the art museum. There are only 3 days left in the film festival, and the curtain call must be perfect. After arriving at the film festival today, Chen Lian didn't see Su Jinglei. Yesterday he said he was coming over today, but he didn't know what happened. But Chen Lian didn't care. He and Su Jinglei were not even friends, so why bother thinking so much? Maybe they went to play rock music. It seemed that she and Wang Shuo got together at this time. Chen Lian didn't think too much about these gossips, and he concentrated on finishing the film festival without being disturbed. The next few days of the film festival went smoothly. The man in the jacket from the healthcare product company never appeared again, and no one in the compound made trouble again. It seems that everything before was an illusion, and the days are as dull as an eraser erasing the ups and downs. However, Chen Lian knew that Master was looking for Sanner behind his back to help him withstand it, otherwise things would not be so peaceful. The only thing that gave Chen Lian a headache was that Malin, the former Beijing daily reporter, would always spend money to buy tickets to watch the exhibition every day. Every time I come here, I will drag a group of uncles and aunties around to ask questions. I have also approached Chen Lian several times, but Chen Lian never paid attention to him. Some things are too dangerous. A little reporter who is as skinny as a monkey cannot stop a few gangsters who do nothing serious. However, Malin did not give up because of Chen Lian's attitude of rejecting people thousands of miles away. He interviewed more than a dozen adults and aunts at the film festival and learned in detail about some false insider information and propaganda in the healthcare product industry. After having a general understanding, Malin went to Chen Lian and said, "I know you are worried about my safety, but I will not give up. The healthcare product industry is too big. If those fake products continue to be sold, I don't know how many people will be harmed." Chen Lian looked at Malin's young face and firm eyes and said, "You will be a good reporter. If someone threatens you, you can go to Zushikao to find me." As Chen Lian spoke, he wrote down the compound's address and his phone number on a piece of paper and handed it to Malin, saying, "This is a huge profit industry worth billions or even tens of billions. What we do is destroy people's financial paths. You should understand the dangers involved. I just opened a film festival to insinuate them, and I was threatened. If you reveal the deeper inside story, it will definitely not be peaceful." Malin glanced at the note handed over by Chen Lian, and then said with a smile, "I'm not afraid. As a journalist, this is what I should do." Chen Lian silently patted Malin on the shoulder and said seriously, "Remember to contact me if you need it. Although I don't have any background, I can still do it to keep you safe." Marin grinned and said, "Don't tell me, I feel like I'm going to die, but you are a good person. I will definitely ask you for help if I need it." Chen Lian laughed dumbly. He didn't expect that the first good guy card in his life would be given to him by a man. After bidding farewell to Malin, Chen Lian looked at his leaving figure. His thin body looked extraordinarily tall at the moment, much taller than himself. After Malin's figure disappeared from sight, Chen Lian turned and returned to the art museum. Today was the last day. After the exhibition hall was to be vacated. At around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Gong Li came and brought a van specifically for Chen Lian to transport his works. Dozens of oversized photo frames cannot be carried away in an ordinary car. Gong Li, the temporary curator, is very dedicated. Chen Lian really likes this sensible and considerate elder sister. As the time came to 5 o'clock, there was no one in the exhibition hall. Chen Lian looked at the photos hanging on the wall, and then silently walked over and took them down with his own hands. Gong Li followed behind and helped Chen Lian hold the photo. Looking back on the changes this week, she felt a sense of accomplishment, as if she had made a very successful movie. Gong Li feels that she is also a part of this film festival, and any exhibition cannot ignore the curator's contribution. Although the film did not win any awards at the film festival, the high praise from the art circle and newspapers and magazines was no different from winning an award. Gong Li's current identity is not only an actor in the entertainment industry, but also a new curator in the art circle, but she will have few opportunities to curate for Chen Lian in the future. When Chen Lian took down all his works and put them in the car, he said to Gong Li, "Can these photos be put at your place first? I will take them away after I find the buyer." "Okay, as long as you're not afraid that I won't return it to you," Gong Li said with a smile. Chen Lian laughed when he heard this and said, "I have the film in my hand. That's the most important thing. As long as you have the negatives in hand, you can have as many photos as you want." However, Chen Lian does not plan to continue developing and printing photos. The only ones are the most valuable. Moreover, Jifa was very interested in the negatives and planned to take them to France to find a buyer. Chen Lian's works are very popular in Europe, especially the works about social reality, which are particularly loved by artists there. Of course, their own artistic works are not of this style. They simply like to watch others expose social reality. At this time, Europeans were still playing new pop art and also extended lowbrow art, which was very different from Chen Lian's work style and opposite in concept. However, it is precisely because of this that it appears rare and has great market prospects. After sending all the works to Gong Li, Chen Lian went to Jifa to ask whether she was buying them as a gallery owner or as an art manager to help him find buyers. This time Chen Lian and Jifa did not make an appointment with Maxim, but found a time-honored belly-bursting restaurant in Dongjimin. Jifa kept talking about drinking erkuatu again. After the dishes were served, Chen Lian poured Jifa a cup of erkuatu before getting down to business. "How do you plan to operate my work this time?" Jifa took a sip from the cup, and the spicy taste instantly made her lose control of her expression. "This wine is simply amazing," Jifa exclaimed, then raised his head and looked at Chen Lian and said, "How about I buy it and give you 10,000 pounds? 10,000 pounds is still very attractive in this era, but Chen Lian feels that his work should not be worth only this much money, and this is his debut work. A group of photography works from the 1970s by Gilbert and George, whom I met a few days ago, had a highest auction price of more than $3 million. Of course, Chen Lian can't compare with them yet, but 10,000 pounds is indeed a little less." Jifa looked at Chen Lian, who was sulking and eating, and couldn't help but said, "You think the price is not right? Your work is indeed very good, but you are just a newcomer, and I am taking risks." Chen Lian raised his head and glanced at Jifa and said helplessly, "It's okay if you replace the set of rhetoric with someone else. We are partners. Put away your businessman's habits." How could Chen Lian believe that taking risks? If investing in himself was a risky thing, would Jifa sign a contract with him? After hearing Chen Lian's words, Jifa couldn't help but stick out her tongue, and with a playful and cute expression, she said with some disappointment, "Okay, the most I can offer is 50,000 pounds. Any more will be really risky." "Well, if you are not satisfied, I can only act as a manager to help you find a buyer." If this was not Chen Lian's debut work, Jifa would not choose to buy it with his own money. Instead, he would directly choose to act as an intermediary for Chen Lian to find a buyer, and then earn a commission. However, it is precisely because it is a debut novel that it has collection value. Although 50,000 pounds is high, it will definitely be doubled in the future. Jifa believes in his vision. Chen Lian did some calculations in his mind. 50,000 pounds converted into RMB is about 420,000 yuan. I don't know if such a huge amount of money can make more money than Chen Miren's commercial performances, but even if it is not enough, with this money as a capital, I still have a chance to make a fortune by going to Hong Kong. Having made his decision, Chen Lian immediately raised his cup and said to Jifa, "This work belongs to you." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 78. Chapter 78. Artistic creation requires inspiration. At the end of 1994, the transaction of art was not standardized. The most irregular thing was that there seemed to be no need to pay taxes. But it's not surprising. The art trading market in China is very small, and most of the transactions are private. Regular art auctions only started this year. It's normal for many places to be imperfect. Chen Lian received tens of thousands of pounds, which was considered a small fortune. With such money, he could buy a house of 1 to 200 square meters. A set of works is worth a big house. If you calculate it this way, Chen Lian's works are quite valuable, but this only takes up the dividends of the times. The room for appreciation of a house is much greater than that of art. A house built in 1994 can increase tenfold in 20 years, and if an art can increase twice as much, you are considered lucky. Chen Lian, who had a huge sum of money in his pocket, walked with a sense of wind, but when he looked at the shops with a strong atmosphere of the times on the roadside, he had no desire to shop at all. The best-selling products in stores these days are washing machines, televisions, and the like, and Chen Lian doesn't need them either. Moreover, it is troublesome to spend such a large amount of foreign exchange, as you have to exchange it into RMB. Foreign exchange coupons have just been cancelled, and foreign exchange can be used directly in the market, but foreign exchange is still not available in most places. However, Chen Lian did not need so much money. There was no need to convert it all into RMB. The country did not lack tens of thousands of yuan in foreign exchange. Chen Lian thought for a while and called Zhang Guorong. He would go to Xiangjiang in 2 days and could use the money to make some investments. At the end of 1994, there was a financial crisis that swept the world. Although it was not as exaggerated as 1997, it was still possible to make a small amount of money. At Zhang Guorong's home in Beijing, Chen Lian lazily leaned on the white leather sofa and looked at the decoration of this high-end apartment. Crystal chandeliers, leather sofas, fashionable decorative paintings and various simple furniture are simply products of 2 eras compared to most of the current housing in the capital. Export sale houses are good, and they are a few blocks better than domestic sale houses and self-built houses. Especially compared with the large courtyard where Chen Lian lives, it is almost 2 eras away. Why are you here today? Is the film festival over? Let's go to Xiangjiang tomorrow. Zhang Guorong was wearing a black nightgown with messy hair and had just gotten up. However, even though he looked slovenly, he still looked like a handsome young man. If a woman saw the open neckline of the nightgown, she would probably scream. Chen Lian looked at Zhang Guorong's sleepy look and seriously suspected that he had not been out at home these days. It should be a normal operation for Xiangjiang people in the cold capital. I'll go in a few days. The concert is on the 19th, isn't it? Why are you going so early? Chen Lian took an orange from the glass coffee table, peeled off a segment and threw it into his mouth. Zhang Guorong smoothed his messy hair and said, "Tomorrow. It's so cold in Beijing this year. I haven't been out for a few days." After finishing speaking, Zhang Guorong looked at the lazy Chen Lian and said angrily, "If Gong Li hadn't told me that you had a film festival, I wouldn't have come. I really can't stand the weather in the capital. The day after tomorrow, I have something to do tomorrow." Chen Lian was also quite embarrassed. Zhang Guorong had come all the way to support him, and still stayed in the capital for so long waiting for him to go to Xiangjiang with him. Leslie Chung walked to the single sofa next to him and sat down, took a sip of water and said, "Okay, but do you know what's going on at the concert you want to watch?" Chen Lian shook his head. He had never seen this concert in his previous life and didn't know much about it. He only watched the video and liked the song Advanced Animals that Do Wei sang at that time. Zhang Guorong lit a cigarette, then threw one to Chen Lian, and then said with some surprise, "The man named He Yong said that the 4 kings are clowns, but Zhang Suiyu is okay. Many friends called me to tell me about this. Woolen cloth. Chen Lian lit the cigarette and turned the lighter in his hand. This kid He Yong really dares to let off steam, but this guy has always been open-minded. Last year, Chen Lian and He Yong had a conflict. The lighter they are using now is the trophy they won during the fight. Zhang Guorong didn't care much about these things. He just thought of mentioning it, turned to look at Chen Lian and asked, "How many days are you going to Xiangjiang to stay?" "1 week, I will definitely come back before the National Art Exhibition," Chen Lian said calmly, then took out a few wads of pounds from his bag and put them on the table and said, "You can help me take this money to Xiangjiang, I can't carry it with me." It was very troublesome to take out so much foreign exchange. Chen Lian didn't have time to apply for various complicated procedures. It was easiest to ask Zhang Guorong to take it out for him. Zhang Guorong looked at the money on the table and asked curiously, "Where did you get so much money? With so much money, you still ask me to treat you to a concert?" "I just earned it from selling the works in the film festival," Chen Lian explained, looked at Zhang Guorong and said with a smile, "Compared to you, I am a pauper. In the mainland, I am called a rich man." Leslie Chung looked at Chen Lian angrily and muttered, "You are so thick-skinned, you don't look like an artist." "Don't be so stingy, who calls you my brother?" Chen Lian smiled, then stood up and stretched and said, "I have to leave in the evening, and I will meet you the day after tomorrow. Get out of here." "Okay." After leaving Zhang Guorong's home, Chen Lian immediately went to find Bai Qing. "I'm going to Xiangjiang the day after tomorrow, and I need to work on a new work with Bo Qing as soon as possible today and tomorrow." In the quiet painting supplies store, Chen Lian and Bai Qing each selected paints. Chen Lian and Bai Qing were choosing suitable paints in the art supplies store. After looking at them for a while, Bai Qing put down the acrylic paints in his hands and said, "Acrylic paints are definitely not good, but oil paints don't have enough adhesion. Painting on photographic paper is not a simple matter, and the choice of pigments is very troublesome. Photographic paper is different from canvas, and oil paints do not have strong adhesion and can easily fall off. Acrylic paint is relatively better, but the difference in effect compared to oil paint is larger. Use a sealant or silicone pigment." Chen Lian thought for a while and said. Bai Qing picked up a bottle of silicone paint, put it under the light source, looked at it for a few times and said, "Then use silicone paint, it's much better than acrylic." "Well, let's take this one. Let's buy it back and try it out first." Chen Lian nodded, and then started to choose the color. Half an hour later, Chen Lian came to his home with Bo Qing holding a pile of paints. Before entering the yard, Bai Qing even pulled up her hair, took Chen Lian's hand and asked, "Do you live by yourself?" "Well, so you don't have to be so nervous," Chen Lian said with a smile. Bai Qing breathed a sigh of relief, then patted Chen Lian and said, "Why should I be nervous? I'm not your girlfriend." Chen Lian smiled and said nothing, and went in first with the paint in his arms. There was no one in the yard. Everyone was eating at home at this time. No one would eat in the courtyard in the middle of winter. Bo Qing followed Chen Lian in and looked at the yard curiously, curious about Chen Lian's growing environment. But there was nothing special about the ordinary courtyard. Bai Qing didn't see any artistic atmosphere, and he couldn't figure out where Chen Lian's artistic talent came from. Chen Lian's house is very clean and things are arranged neatly. There is not much furniture in the house. The only electrical appliances are lights and fans. There are many books on the desk. Bai Qing picked up a book and flipped through it, and found that most of them were novels, with Chen Lian's essays and thoughts after reading them. The calligraphy is very beautiful and the writing is very sharp, which fits Chen Lian's temperament very well. After Chen Lian put the paints away, he found a large photo that he had developed before, turned to look at Bo Qing and said, "Okay, let's get started now." Bo Qing put down the book in his hand and looked at the photo in Chen Lian's hand. It was a landscape photo. A blue stone slab by the river was filled with thick fog. The sky was very gloomy, as if it was going to rain. There were several unclear figures in the fog. The entire photo looks eerie, like a scene from a horror folklore story. Bo Qing walked over and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Is this the Jiangnan you see? There are more ghost stories." "This is just a semi-finished product." Chen Lian smiled, then picked up a paintbrush and said, "Now we need to make it complete." Bai Qing watched the brush spinning around on Chen Lian's fingers, then raised his hand to grab the brush and threw it aside. He looked into Chen Lian's eyes and said, "I need inspiration. The emotional gap needs to be filled." Chen Lian, what a refreshing and refined reason. There are no interruptions in updates. Yesterday's update was in the morning because the reading data of the day needs to be better. My habit is to update at night, and I need to go to work during the day to defraud capitalists of money to support myself. Okay, I continue to code. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 79. Chapter 79. Venice will be very lively next year. There were a few white clouds floating in the blue sky, and a plane flying from the north slowly landed in the deep city. Chen Lian took off his sweater, wearing only a white t-shirt, and took out a black jacket from his bag. The weather in Shenzhen is very nice, and the temperature is only in the early 20s, which is much more comfortable than the cold in the capital. Chen Lian wore sunglasses and turned to look at Zhang Guorong, who had already changed his clothes, and asked, "Go through the customs directly? Or stay in Shenzhen for one more day?" "Pass the test directly." Zhang Guorong also put on sunglasses and said coolly. "Pass." The difference between Xiangjiang and the mainland is really not small, especially in 1994, I can clearly feel the gap in economic development, and I can also clearly feel the cultural differences. During the decades under the management of the British Empire, most people in Xiangjiang have developed a sense of arrogance that emanates from their bones. It is not friendly to people from the mainland at all. When crossing the border from Shenzhen, Chen Lian saw that many tourists from the mainland were looked down upon by drivers from the Xiangjiang side. Muttering a lot of unpleasant things, Chen Lian didn't look very good. He really wanted to drag them to the capital to see the electronic board for the countdown to the return that had just been erected. Zhang Guorong saw that Chen Lian was not in a good mood, put his arm around his shoulders and said, "Don't worry, there are bad people everywhere. Most people in Xiangjiang still hope to return to the motherland." Chen Lian curled his lips. Zhang Guorong probably didn't believe this. "Okay, don't think so much, I'll take you to eat delicious food." Zhang Guorong smiled and put his arm around Chen Lian's shoulders and walked out of the passage. After coming out, Chen Lian met Zhang Guorong's manager Cheng Shifen again, and also met his old acquaintance Mr. Kaf. "Lian, long time no see." Cheng Shifen greeted Chen Lian with a smile. She always respected Zhang Guorong's friends. Chen Lian stretched out his hand to shake Cheng Shifen's hand and said, "Long time no see. I'm sorry for you coming here this time." "Stop being so polite." Shu Qi came from the side and hit Chen Lian on the shoulder. Chen Lian and Shu Qi haven't seen each other for a long time. Shu Qi left after staying on the set of Huayu for more than 10 days. This is the first time they have met since then. "Long time no see, I feel a little fatter." Chen Lian looked at Shu Qi and said with a smile. Shu Qi patted her belly and said with a smile, "A little bit, a little bit." After a few words of greeting, they got in the car. Shu Qi was still driving, just like when they first met. Chen Lian sat in the passenger seat and looked at the scenery outside the car window. Many scenes matched the movie scenes in his mind. It was quite an interesting experience. Shu Qi drove the car, glanced sideways at Chen Lian and said, "The extremely cold post-production is done, and Wang Xiao's Hawaii is going to take it to Europe to participate in film festivals. Is it done? Chen Lian turned his head and looked at Shu Qi in surprise, and asked curiously, don't you have no money? Have you found someone to invest? Shu Qi glanced at Chen Lian, smiled and said, thanks to you, Su Feng invested a sum of money, otherwise there would be no money for the later stage. It turned out to be Su Feng. Chen Lian nodded suddenly. At that time, Su Feng said that he wanted to convince her, but he didn't agree. Leslie Chung became interested in the back seat, patted Shu Qi on the shoulder and said, where is the film? I want to see it. If you want to see it at Thompson, I'll go find Su Feng to get it. Shu Qi glanced at the excited Zhang Guorong through the rearview mirror and said. Zhang Guorong patted the seat and said, okay, now turn to Thompson. Shu Qi, should we be so anxious? However, seeing that Leslie Chung and Chen Lian both looked impatient, Shu Qi turned around and went to Thompson Movies. With Leslie Chung and Shu Qi coming forward, it was easy to get the film. However, people don't care at all whether the extremely cold film source will leak out, and no one will want a literary film that is in the fog. Piracy is not enough of a loss. After taking the film, they returned to Zhang Guorong's home. After arriving at Leslie Chung's home in Xiangjiang, Chen Lian once again felt the gap between celebrities and young actors. However, Chen Lian didn't care much about the house. He was just curious about why he didn't see Mr. Tang. At first, Chen Lian didn't see Mr. Tang coming to pick up Zhang Guorong, which was a bit strange. Now that I have returned to Zhang Guorong's house, I still haven't seen him, which is very intriguing. Could it be that they broke up after a quarrel? Chen Lian thought for a while, and it seemed that he had never heard Zhang Guorong mention the matter between him and Mr. Tang when he was on the Hawaii crew. Zhang Guorong, who was serving wine in the living room, looked at Chen Lian who was thinking and shouted, come here and help get the cup. Here we come. Chen Lian came to his senses and walked over without taking the initiative to ask about Mr. Tang. It was difficult to ask about such things. More than 10 minutes later, on the second floor of Zhang Guorong's villa, in a private theater dedicated to watching movies, several people were drinking and waiting for the movie to start. The post-production of this extremely cold version is much better than the version Chen Lian has seen. It is not so rough, and the narration is not Wang Xiaoshui's bad pronunciation. Chen Lian put down the cup in his hand, adjusted his sitting posture and looked seriously. In the darkness, Zhang Guorong turned his head and glanced at Chen Lian's profile, somewhat admiring Chen Lian's performances at the beginning of the movie. The several simulated deaths at the beginning of the movie made Zhang Guorong a little moved. Through the screen, he clearly felt the extremely oppressive power of Qi Lei in the movie. Very touching images. This kind of movie is rare in Hong Kong. To be precise, it is rare in many places. Cheng Shifen held the wine glass with one hand and looked at Chen Lian's performance on the screen. She had a very strange feeling, as if she was seeing a combination of Leslie Chung and Tony Leung Choi. Zhang Guorong is the kind of person who is emotional and truly integrates into the role, regardless of the person or the actor. Tony Leung's characters all have their own style and shadow, and they can perfectly display each character through their own characteristics. But Chen Lian's performance in the extreme cold made Cheng Shifen feel very conflicted. Chen Lian absolutely blended into the role of Qi Lei, and it felt like he was indistinguishable from the play, but it also made her feel that this character had unique characteristics that belonged to Chen Lian. Especially the feeling of loneliness and depression in my body has a strong personal color. Shu Qi was very excited. He had watched the movie twice, but every time he watched it, he would discover the hidden details in Chen Lian's performance. For example, in the scene of making out with Ma Xiaoqing in the taxi, Shu Qi felt that Chen Lian played a very lonely person who longed for warmth when watching it for the first time. However, this time, I saw the resistance and uneasiness in Chen Lian's eyes, which seemed to be in his eyes. I am afraid that I will be intoxicated in tenderness and unable to make the final simulated ice burial, and will not be able to complete my artistic pursuit. The more Shuqi watched it, the more she liked it. She felt that Chen Lian was really a treasured actor who could perform such layered inner activities with micro-expressions and eyes without any lines or actions. Soon after more than an hour, the movie ended. When the lights came on, Chen Lian was still immersed in the movie. To be precise, he substituted himself into Chi Lei again. Zhang Guorong looked at Chen Lian, who had a slight frown on his face and a deep look in his eyes, and felt the change in him. He paused for a moment before hitting him with a smile and said, "You kid, your acting skills are so good, why are you so careless when you act with me?" Leslie Chung's slap brought Chen Lian back to his senses. He relaxed his brows and put away all the emotions in his heart, and said with a smile, "Because this movie gives me more space." Zhang Guorong nodded. Director Chen did not give the actors much room to perform. It is really difficult to perform well. This movie is very good. If it goes to the Venice Film Festival, it is likely to win an award. Especially for Lian's performance, I think there is a chance that it will win a Silver Lion Award. Shuqi couldn't help but interrupt. She really didn't want to hear the name Director Chen. Wang Xiao's Hawaii is also going to Venice. Chen Lian was stunned for a moment. Next year he will participate in the Venice Biennale. Plus the Venice Film Festival, it will be really lively. Maybe I have a connection with Venice? Chen Lian thought for a moment, turned to look at Shuqi and said, "There is not much hope for the main competition section. The limitations of the film itself are destined to prevent it from participating in the main competition section. It would be good if it can be shortlisted at most. It's not enough to be nominated." Leslie Chung smiled and held up the wine glass and handed it to Chen Lian and said, "I hope you can win the Best Actor." Chen Lian took the cup and touched it with Zhang Guorong, and said with a smile, "I hope so." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 80. Chapter 80. Who said artists are not good looking? Snapped. 80,000. In the brightly lit room, Chen Lian looked at Zhang Guorong, who was nervously counting cards, and casually threw out a card of 80,000. What a fool! Zhang Guorong excitedly pushed down the mahjong in front of him. "Give me money! Give me money!" Zhang Guorong clapped his hands and asked Chen Lian and the others to pay, as if he had won 100 million. "I'm Qingyi Se, why don't you be so happy?" Chen Lian looked at Qingyi Se, who had already listened to the cards, and reluctantly took out his money and gave up. Playing mahjong is all about luck. Chen Lian didn't have good luck today. He made 2 mistakes after a few rounds and fired frequently. Zhang Guorong snatched the money from Chen Lian's hand, smiled proudly and couldn't help but said arrogantly, "You don't care what I do, as long as I can do it. There is nothing wrong with this. Being able to play tricks on the mahjong court is the most important thing." Shuqi also felt heartbroken and gave the money to Zhang Guorong. Chen Lian's luck was bad, and his luck was even worse. He didn't do anything wrong. He just came to give money. The big winners tonight are Cheng Shifen and Leslie Chung. Cheng Shifen won the most, but the happiest one was Leslie Chung. In the past, he lost more than he won, but today it was the other way around. He felt that Chen Lian and Shuqi were his lucky stars. "I still have fun playing cards with you," Leslie Chung said with a hearty laugh. "Jiao Ling and I have never won much at cards." Chen Lian, if the high-end game doesn't work, then come to the novice game to find pleasure. Don't talk about martial ethics. Shuqi glanced at the little money she had left, looked at Zhang Guorong with some pain and said, "If I don't fight, I will almost lose it all." "Why don't you be so disappointed?" Zhang Guorong said unhappily, then took more than 10 pieces from his money pile and gave them to Shuqi and said, "Don't pay for money, come on, keep going." Shuqi took the money handed over by Zhang Guorong, and then winked at Chen Lian. Chen Lian turned his head and looked at Zhang Guorong, who was smiling happily, and sighed quietly in his heart. The mahjong game lasted all night, and in the end Chen Lian lost all his money. Shu Qi went home satisfied with more than 3,000 Hong Kong dollars to catch up on some sleep. The more than 1,000 that Shu Qi took away belonged to Chen Lian. Every time this guy was about to lose, he would pretend to be pitiful with Zhang Guorong, and then take back the money he lost, and in the end he won more than 1,000. Chen Lian felt that he needed to draw a clear line between himself and Shu Qi in the future, and they could never sit on the same mahjong table. In the kitchen on the first floor, Chen Lian was eating fried dough sticks and drinking white porridge. Zhang Guorong asked someone to buy it specially. Xiangjiang people also like fried dough sticks and white porridge, but here they call it white porridge and fried ghost. Chen Lian was drinking porridge and looked at Zhang Guorong, who was drinking alone, and said angrily, "You want to eat fried dough sticks and white porridge, but now you drink by yourself, your body is ruined." Cheng Shifen also said, "Lian is right. Staying up all night without eating is not good for your body. Drink red wine before going to bed to maintain your health." Zhang Guorong said sophistry, not paying attention to Cheng Shifen's helpless expression. Cheng Shifen turned her head and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Lian, please watch him for me and don't let him drink recently." "Well, I'll finish his wine later and won't even leave a bottle for him," Chen Lian said as he threw the last piece of fried dough stick into his mouth. "Cheng Shifen, are you serious?" Facing Chen Shifen's eyes, Chen Lian fulfilled his words very seriously and directly took the wine from Leslie Cheng's hand and drank it all in one gulp, even taking away the bottle. "I'm going to bed, remember to eat," Chen Lian warned as he looked at Leslie Cheng, quickly ran to the second floor, and then suddenly returned and asked, "Which room should I sleep in?" Zhang Guorong looked at the wine bottle in Chen Lian's hand, and really wanted to throw the plate on the table at Chen Lian's face. "Which room you want to sleep in?" Zhang Guorong shouted angrily, and then quickly added, "As long as it's not my room." Chen Lian didn't care at all about Zhang Guorong's anger, and went upstairs humming a song. Cheng Shifen sat at the dining table and watched the performance of the two childish ghosts. She couldn't help but smile. She looked at Zhang Guorong and said, "When did you and Lian become so close to each other?" "Ah," Zhang Guorong was a little confused by the sudden question. He scratched his hair and thought for a while before saying, "I don't know. He is such a shameless person. It's hard for someone not to become his friend." Cheng Shifen couldn't help laughing when she heard Zhang Guorong's words, patted the table gently and said, "You should make more friends like this, it's best to become such a person." "I don't want it," Zhang Guorong snorted, drank 2 mouthfuls of porridge, picked up a fried dough stick in his mouth, and muttered, "I'm going to bed. If you need anything, call me." Looking at Zhang Guorong's back going upstairs, Cheng Shifen couldn't help but smile, feeling that he had become a lot brighter since he met Chen Lian. Cheng Shifen sat at the dining table and finished her breakfast before leaving alone. In a guest room on the second floor, Chen Lian locked the door, stripped naked and took a shower before going to bed. Zhang Guorong is really a person who pays great attention to the quality of life. The beds in the guest room are very comfortable, and Chen Lian slept soundly. "When I woke up again, I was woken up by someone yelling and playing mahjong downstairs. Zhang Guorong loves playing mahjong so much, he is really tireless." Chen Lian sat up from the bed and looked at the time. It was already past 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He had slept for almost 10 hours. But he still felt very sleepy. Chen Lian yawned and got up from the bed. After washing his face and brushing his teeth, he put on some clothes before going downstairs. The people playing mahjong with Zhang Guorong downstairs seemed to be several women, and they were chattering very noisily. Most of Zhang Guorong's poker friends are women, but this guy is indeed popular with women. He is handsome, has a good personality, has good acting skills and sings well. When Chen Lian appeared downstairs, Several people playing mahjong turned their attention and looked curiously at the man who appeared in Zhang Guorong's home. Their thoughts were racing for a while. Seeing the strange looks in their eyes, Chen Lian was not embarrassed at all. He nodded at them and went to the kitchen to find something to eat. After Chen Lian entered the kitchen, the three women all turned their attention to Zhang Guorong. "Brother, who is he?" Lu Jialing asked curiously. Zhang Guorong looked at the people who had already formed in front of him and said without raising his head, "I forgot to introduce you, Chen Lian, my friend from the mainland, let's play cards soon." Lu Jialing and Wang Jingguan looked at each other, wondering when Zhang Guorong had a friend from the mainland and could even live in his house. Bridget Lin, who had just gotten married and returned from the United States, did not delay playing cards. After throwing out a six cake, she asked, "You went to the capital to find him?" "A good friend." Only then did Zhang Guorong react, raised his head and looked at the gossipers, and explained angrily, "They are just good friends, don't think about it, they have girlfriends." Hearing the gossip about these women, his enthusiasm subsided immediately, but Wang Jingguan still asked curiously, "Do you know each other from filming? Are you an actor?" Leslie Chung paused for a moment, wondering whether Chen Lian was an artist or an actor, and then said, "I know him from filming, but he is an artist, a very powerful one." "Artist? Really or fake, a painter?" "Really, I can draw and take photos. I just held a personal photo exhibition." "So talented?" "Artists are usually not good looking." Chen Lian, who had just come out of the kitchen with a baguette in his mouth, heard this sentence and wanted to despise Lu Jialing's shallow knowledge. "There are many good-looking people among artists, okay. Raphael, Schiller, Balthus and Lucian Freud are all top handsome guys, okay. But now we can only rank behind Chen Lian. The crown of the most beautiful artist now belongs to Chen Lian. He's so handsome but so unreasonable. Reach the pinnacle of the artist industry in an alternative way. I collected 20,000 yuan, and I'm going to Sanjiang next week. I'm happy. I love you guys, but I haven't added any updates. I'm too lazy to put it on the shelves. I can't see that I'm not motivated to subscribe."